Hi, I want to start today a series of meditational shiurim that are designed to reveal the real you, to be able to bring out the ultimate you, the I, which is really nothing other than your holy soul. Before we can bring that out, we need to be in balance. So today's meditation, the first in the series, is meant to understand a little more about what the soul is, because we need to understand what the soul is in general before we can understand our own individual specific souls, and what the actual soul is, according to our sages, is movement. It's movement. It says that the chayos are running and returning. It says in Yecheskel, the chayos, the holy angels, are running and returning. And the commentators say that the chayos is like the word chius, which means life, vitality. The vitality of a person is running and returning. It's expanding and contracting. From this, our sages teach us that the essence of a person's soul or neshama is that it's always in movement of expansion and contraction. Expansion and contraction. It's easy to see this when we look at a person's breathing, because this is an obvious example of how when we breathe in, we expand, and when we breathe out, we contract. And there are physical sensations that go along with expansion and with contraction. But breathing is not the only aspect of movement. You have many other internal qualities that are part of you, the essence of who you are, the essence of your soul. And these qualities, too, undergo constant movement of expansion and contraction. Oftentimes, these movements, these inner movements that we have are so subtle that we don't notice them. And we're so bombarded with outside stimuli that we don't have that quiet moment to really tune in and be able to tell how we're fluctuating. Are we fluctuating more towards expansion right now, or are we fluctuating more towards contraction? It's going to be, as you see, very important to be able to differentiate and know where we are at any particular time. Most of what we're going to be talking about today, and the meditation that is soon to follow from this introduction, have to do with concepts that are not possible for us to fully understand at this beginning stage. But that doesn't have to stop us. We need to pursue anyway and be patient with ourselves. What we're going to do now, we should do in the spirit of curiosity, in the spirit of self-acceptance and self-compassion. Because it's only through self-acceptance and self-compassion that we're going to really appreciate how important this inner work is. And that's the only way that we're going to strengthen ourselves, by continuing, even if everything doesn't make complete sense. And even if we don't feel we're doing the exercises just right. Well, know this, nobody is doing the exercises just right. Minds have a tendency to wander off. We're going to be talking about trying to stay mindful of certain aspects of ourselves today. And of course, the mind is going to wander off, and don't let that bother you. That's perfectly okay. We're just going to then take our awareness and gently pull it back, guide it back to an awareness of the task at hand. Okay, we have to remember as we go through this that we don't fully understand how the essence of a person can be movement. We've been taught to think erroneously that the essence of a person is relaxation, rest, just sitting on a beach, having no worries, no concerns. In effect, we've been told that the essence of who we are is really the opposite of who and what we are. Our sages, they have told us that our essence is movement. So let's be curious. Let's wonder, what do they mean by that? Of course, they must be right. And even though we don't understand yet how they're right, because we haven't had the personal experience yet through meditation, keep an open mind to that idea that not only is relaxation not your essence, all right? But and it's also not to say that relaxation isn't important. Relaxation and serenity are very, very important. And we have to keep an eye on that as one of the main goals that we're shooting for, is to be quiet inside and serene inside, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to really reveal the I and make a good connection with Hashem and be connected to Hashem in a strong, clear way all day long. Okay? So, everything in the world is expansion and contraction, not only in us. Everything in the creation is expanding and contracting. Hashem made the planets to move, the galaxies to move. Everything moves. Earth, water, fire, wind, the four essential elements with which Hashem created everything, they all move. Even though we think of earth as something that doesn't move, as compared to fire, which it moves up, and water, which trickles down if it's not in a container, and wind, which can move in all 6 directions. Earth also does move, because we know it moves in its axis, it moves around the sun, and so on. Everything is moving. Now, when we talk about expansion, we are happy. When we're in an expansive state, we're happy. When we're expanding, there's less ego, there's less me. When we're expanding, we're more in unity with creation. When we're expanding, we're more generous, we're more giving, and so on. What about contraction? Well, when we contract, when we restrict, it leads to sadness if it's too much restriction. Again, we're only in the beginning of understanding this. Sometimes restriction is also going to make us happy. Sometimes expansion can also make us sad. If it's excessive, it's not the right kind of expansion, not the right kind of constriction. But generally speaking, constriction makes us sad. Constriction puts us in the state of taking. Constriction separates us from others, separates us from the creation, from Hashem. Separation or restriction is more putting us into that state of alone. Expansion is putting us more into that state of achdus, of togetherness with others. Okay? With this background and introduction, let's now move into the meditation portion of today. In order to prepare ourselves for this meditation, find a comfortable position in which you can sit, preferably with your feet flat on the floor, both feet on the floor, and your posture somewhat erect, not rigidly so, but erect with the shoulders back, spine erect, in a state of dignity with the head up, in a state of alertness, awakeness, as opposed to slouching down or lying down for this meditation. Okay, now that you have found a position in which you're comfortable, I'll ask you to, with your eyes open or closed, just imagine, of course it's a bit better with the eyes closed if you can do that. But either way, just imagine now that you're allowing your attention to come down into your breathing, so to speak. That means just to be aware of the process of your breathing. to gently allow yourself to just focus at this point on the physical sensations of breathing. Simply to be aware at this point of what it feels like to breathe in and to breathe out. Take a moment to be aware of that. And remember that minds do wander. So if your mind wanders off, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. That's just what minds do. If you feel your mind wandering, just gently guide it back to being aware of how you feel physically when you're breathing naturally in your own way of breathing. Don't try to breathe in a certain way. Just allow Hashem to breathe you and be aware. Perhaps you can be aware of the movement of your breathing. For example, do you notice how as you breathe in and expand, that the skin of your abdominal area stretches out? And as you exhale and contract, that the abdominal area recedes. Or you may notice that as you inhale and expand, your rib cage and chest cavity expand as well. And there are certain physical feelings that you have there. And as you exhale and contract, the rib cage contracts and the chest sort of caves in. Just being aware of these movements and physical sensations is the key to doing this exercise. You're not judging yourself. You're not evaluating yourself. You're doing this in the spirit of self-acceptance and curiosity, just to become more aware of the feelings of breathing out and how they're different from the feelings of breathing in. Do you notice when you breathe in that you feel the coolness of the air coming into your nostrils? Do you notice when you breathe out, perhaps the air that is released is warmer than the air that's breathed in? Whatever you notice is fine. It doesn't have to be anything that I'm mentioning. It can be other things as well. Or it can be what I'm mentioning in addition to other things. The key is just to be aware now of every second, moment to moment, as you exhale, and every second, moment to moment, as you inhale. And that's all. Just to be here in the now, doing this, and nothing else. If your mind wanders, you bring it back. Okay? And now let's let go of our awareness of our breathing. Now we don't need to be aware of breathing at all. Let's switch tracks now and become aware of something else that is moving inside us constantly, and that is the fluctuation of our emotions. There's a constant stream of emotion that is running through you. And that constant flow of emotion that's running through you is also undergoing contractions and expansions. Now we're going to focus for a minute or so on the feelings of expansion and contraction in the emotions. And we're going to become more finely attuned and sensory aware of what an emotional expansion feels like and what an emotional contraction feels like. Like we said before, an emotional expansion is usually a positive emotion. Joy, happiness, generosity, other-centeredness, the wish to give, being altruistic, feeling kind, doing chesed, the feeling of kindness, love. This is all, generally speaking, expansive emotions. Emotions of contraction have to do with sadness, have to do with self, have to do with ego, might have to do with any of the other negative emotions that sometimes run through us. And we want to be open during this exercise, again, to not judge ourselves. None of us are perfect. We all have some mixture of positive emotions and negative emotions, positive thoughts and negative thoughts. This is not the time to judge ourselves. This is just the time to be aware of ourselves, to get to know ourselves, to understand how our souls work in a general way. As we go on more with this series, we'll be able to fine-tune ourselves and get to know how our souls work much more specifically and much more to understand yourself as a unique creation of the Creator. Okay, so once again, let's make sure we're in a comfortable position, sitting up straight, head erect, shoulders back somewhat, not rigid. Taking a few relaxing breaths, letting go of any unnecessary stress, any unnecessary tension that sometimes builds up in us, builds up in our muscles. Breathe that out. And if you wish, close your eyes and let your attention come back down to your breathing. As you become more aware of your breathing, this time you're just using your breathing just to center yourself, just to become more in the present. And the breathing is an excellent way to bring ourselves into the now, to be able to actually take residence in the moment. Right here, this is where our lives are. So use your breathing to just inhabit the now, to be here and now. No past, no future, just now. That's it. You just breathe a few more times this way. And now I want you to just let go of the breathing. And just be in the now by following along with me and my voice as I guide you into becoming more aware of the flow of emotions that is going on within you. And just let the light of your awareness focus on that, on your emotions. Don't try to change your emotions, but just be aware of whatever your emotions are right now. Whatever emotions that you're feeling. And even if you're not feeling any emotion, even if it feels like you don't have any emotion at all, just be aware of that feeling of nothing. Be aware of that feeling of no emotion. That's right. And just stay with that. Again, if your mind wanders off, remember that's what minds do. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Just gently guide your attention back to whatever emotions you're having right now, without judging those emotions, but just being aware of those emotions. And as you notice whether an emotion is positive, or if you notice that an emotion is negative, the whole key here is to notice when you're feeling good, when you're not feeling good. As you feel a good feeling, which can be calmness, it can be relaxation, it can be a feeling of generosity, it can be a feeling of being unified with others, with the world. This is an expansion. This is the expansion of your soul that we spoke about before. If you're feeling a little sad, that's okay. Don't judge yourself. If you're feeling upset, if you're feeling irritated, that's okay. Just feel those feelings and know they are a contraction. They are a contraction. They are a restriction of your soul. Just getting to know ourselves, that's all. Not judging ourselves. Just getting to know ourselves. Being aware of the expansions and the contractions. That's it. Take a minute or so now to just silently be aware of that within yourself. Okay, and now, we're not done yet. Just stay focused on that a little bit longer to know the feelings you're having, the positive feelings, the negative feelings. Notice how they fluctuate. Do you notice that a positive emotion stays with you longer than a negative emotion? Or it might be just the reverse. Whatever it is, it's fine. Okay, and now we can let go of being aware of our emotions. And we can switch tracks to the last part of this exercise, which is an awareness of our thoughts. Our thoughts also are undergoing expansions and contractions. The Baal Shem Tov says that there are 3 garments that clothe our soul. 1 is thought, 2 is emotion, and 3 is action. Well, none of us are really moving around very much while we're doing that, so we're focusing today mainly on emotions, breathing, and now thoughts. Once again, in a dignified posture, close your eyes if you will. Take a few deep, relaxing breaths, and let yourself begin to become aware of the flow of your thoughts. Your own mental process. Let the thoughts just come. And be an observer of your own thoughts. Don't fight with your thoughts. Don't challenge your thoughts. This is a time to just observe them, just to be aware of them. And thoughts can come in the form of images, pictures in the mind as well. Thoughts can also come in the form of memories. However your thoughts come, whether they're just as thoughts or as pictures or as memories, your job is just to stay focused, to be aware of your thoughts. And as you do that now, can you tune in to whether your thoughts are taking you more into that expansive mode or more into that contraction mode? Are your thoughts taking you more out of yourself, out of the ego, the I, and connecting more with the outside world or with Hashem? Or are your thoughts taking you more inward to the I, to the alone state, to the separate state that we spoke about before? Just follow your thoughts and see what happens with curiosity and self-acceptance. What kind of experiences are your thoughts taking you to? What kind of emotions are your thoughts taking you to? And what kind of physical bodily sensations are your thoughts taking you to? If your thoughts lead you to feel some tension in your body, be aware that that tension is a constriction. That's all. If your thoughts open you up and make you feel more free and calm and relaxed, it's an expansion. If your thoughts lead you to freer, more open breathing, or do they lead you to more constricted breathing, shallow breathing? Just being aware. This is the key. If your mind wanders, gently bring your mind back to your current thoughts. Okay, that's very good. Now let's stop here. Bring yourself back, if you're not already back, to a more alert, focused state of mind. Eyes open if they're not yet open. And let's just summarize together what we've accomplished today, what we've covered today. We said that the real you, the ultimate you, is not a body. It's not even your feelings or your emotions or your thoughts. That you are nothing other than a holy soul, which is higher than all of those things. And we can't really fully understand yet, but our sages told us that the essence of a soul is expansions and contractions. From that pasuk in Yechezkel, which says that the chayos are running and returning, running and returning. And the commentators explain that word of chayos as being chiyus, which means life, vitality, the life force of a person. Your soul is your life force, and it's always running and returning, expanding and contracting. So as we move forward in this meditation series, let's do it with patience, self-understanding, appreciation, that the only way to get to a fuller, deeper understanding is patience and perseverance. We'll do that by being accepting of ourselves, not judging ourselves, being compassionate of ourselves. That's the way that we'll invest the time and we'll make the sufficient effort to be able to strengthen our ability to be able to understand the amazing inner qualities that God gave us. We should all be successful in this and in everything we do.